Hi, quick hobby update. I have been painting like crazy the last couple days and added a whole bunch of stuff to my force. First up, I've got a pile of mechs. There's about, I don't know, 11, 12 of them in there. I'm kind of working on and working through my new list. It's going to be a Steiner Scout list, I think. And so I've been trying to add mechs to the list that I think would work in there. I'm playing around with some ideas. We'll see how that goes. But I needed to add a fair number of atlases to the list. I grabbed a Victor, I grabbed a Zeus, a Guillotine. I've got some lighter mechs in there: Hunchback, Star Slayer, Griffin, Os Soul. There's a Flea, a Javelin, and then a Ymir. I've had that Ymir just sitting around for a while. Think the Ymir is a pretty terrible mech, but it's been hanging around there for a while, so I thought I'd go ahead and paint him up. I painted up a bunch of vehicles as well. I've got a couple Maxims, Saladins, J. Edgars, and some Galleons. All these are painted up in my kind of generic force scheme as well. I wanted to just flush some stuff out and give myself some more options for playing around. So I added those in there. I really like these new plastic Maxims. They're really good. I know the old Maxims, some of them just look like a party bus. And then there's the Maxim Heavy Hover Tank, which actually is pretty decent metal, but it's so expensive. And these Maxims that are plastic, man, they're so good. Um, the Saladin's okay. It's a metal model from Iron Winds. It's kind of silly looking. I'm playing around with trying to use one just because he's point efficient. We'll see how that goes. And then the J. Edgars here are metal as well from Iron Winds. And I like the metal J. Edgars. In fact, I think if you just need J. Edgars, I think you get two in a pack for like $11 from Aries or something like that. I think it's a pretty good deal. And the Galleons are, I mean, I like the old metal Galleon models, but these new ones they're fire, right? They're so good. The next thing I did is I painted up some Word of Blake Mani Domine. I'm really excited for these guys. Like, super nerded out painting them. Really, really enjoyed them. They're from Pendraken Miniatures. They do 10 millimeter historicals, but they have, I think it's a fairly new or updated sci-fi line for a game that I used to play back in the day called Future War Commander that I really liked. They have a whole line of factions, and one of them there's like a techno theocracy, and it's basically Wobbists or um yeah, it's basically just Wobbists. So as you see here, I painted them up. I did the Manny Domini robes, the red robes with kind of yellow trim. I have more figures in this, but I didn't paint them. I might paint up some like Word of Blakeists, or not Word of Blakeists, some just regular old Comstar guys in robes as well. But I ordered up a pack of like their standard infantry. I did 4 stands of those. I also ordered I think they're the engineers and recon teams as well, and I mixed some of those in there to look like officers or commanders. So I think 3 of these stands here, the guys who are kind of just standing there holding like data pads or something. Those are from the engineering and the recon packs, and the rest are from like the standard infantry. What's really cool about these is like they have like techno-y stuff on their face. So you might not be able to see because these are 10 millimeter figures. They're pretty small, but I painted up some of the hands metal, like they have augmentations, and some of their faces have metal bits on it with like blue lights blinking, things like that. It's kind of hard to tell because they're so small, but I did 4 stands of these. I really like how they turned out. I like how they contrast with white mechs as well. I picked up I think they're surface to air missiles or missile launcher packs. And I think they come 6 to a pack. And then I used some of their recon or engineering figures as if they were using like some sort of tracking or guidance system. I put that on there. I'm going to use these as SRM troops just to distinguish between the two, or maybe LRM troops, depending on what I'm running in a list. These look really good. I really like them. They've got these big chonky missile launchers. They look like they're shooting at an actual mech. They're firing like up in the air. And then the last group that I did was it's like some recon teams. So they have like binoculars or digital binoculars or whatever, range finders, things like that. We'll use them as like recon teams, light teams, things like that. And then the command teams. So all their packs, every single one of their like different sci-fi packs have these like command teams with like a command table. And then I just added a couple figures from some other packs to like flush it out. And I did those. I won't use these like in a list as like an actual movable unit. What I'll probably do is use them as like a place marker. So like I like to have a little like a stand with like something on it, like a normal Battletech base with a stand on it of figures or something to grab onto, and I'll use it to mark where a mech or a unit is where I'm moving. So if I want to take them move back, I know exactly where they were, and I'll probably use that for this. I mean, the other thing you could use it as is like in Headhunter, you could use it as like one of your objectives if your CO gets shot, right? So I did those up. I did the command table as if they're looking at like a topo map with like units moving around. I really liked how this turned out. It was a lot of fun to do. Size wise, they're true 10 millimeter, so they match up really, really well with like the larger scale Ironwind metal figures. So on the picture on the screen, you see the Manny Domini that I painted up in the middle, and then to the right is it's like Tau infantry and the heavy infantry, and it might be a little hard to see there, but they're actually almost maybe the Manny Domini that I painted from Pendraken, these techno theocrats, might be just a scooch bigger, but they actually match it pretty well. Now on the left there, those are figures from Drop Zone Commander, and they're quite a bit bigger than those, which I already knew. When you take those Drop Zone Commanders and you put them next to some of the bigger Ironman metal miniatures, they're more like 8 millimeter instead of true 10 millimeter. But I think they match up really well. So, I mean, if you're playing in a format that allows for non-Ironwind metal figures, I think check out Pendraken. The just shipping from England wasn't too bad. But check them out. You get quite a few figures in a pack. I think there's a lot of variety there. When you look at the sci-fi, they've got like 6 factions. I think it's like 6 factions in there, and they have like infantry, and they have officers, and they have engineers and missile launchers, and some like light equipment and things like that, and even some hover troops. So like there's some wide range of options there, and then you can always look at the historical stuff. They've got some pretty good figures in there for like post World War II conflicts, modern Cold War gone hot conflicts that I think would work really well. There's even some figures from like World War II and World War One and colonial era that would probably work that you could throw in there. Like I'm looking at some figures from them from their Boer War range, and I think they would look really good as mountaineering troops or as for Formatorians, because they have like slouch hats that are all rolled up or like cowboy hats, right? I think that would look really cool. So check those out. I really like how these turned out. I really like how they look. I'm going to be dropping a new video probably tomorrow. It's going to break down. I'm going to start breaking down the missions from WolfNet, and so I hope you guys enjoyed that one. So stay tuned for that. If you're doing any sort of hobby updates, share in the comments below. And then keep an eye out after I'm done breaking down this pirate list and reviewing some of my favorite mechs out of that list. I'm going to be working on the opposite end of the spectrum, and I'm working on a list that is my take on a Steiner Scout list and how I would make that work within a 350 format. So the pirate list is on the light end. Like, how do you run a light list, and what would you look for in a light list, and how would you balance that out with all that like light mech swarm? And then the other side of that is going to be, what do you do to balance out a list where you want to run a bunch of assaults, right? You want to run some heavy chunky boys, but how do you kind of achieve those missions, and how do you do well with that? And I'm actually really liking how that list has turned out. So I hope you have a good rest of your day and you stay warm out there. I know it's cold as heck down here in southern Minnesota, and may the blessings of Blake be upon you.